This is the story of a quiet farm, a group of young filmmakers, and an old woman who never stopped dreaming. It's a slasher film, yes, but it's also about time, desire, and what happens when dreams are left to rot. What Pearl becomes here isn't a mystery or a twist. It's the cost of chasing recognition after time has already moved on. The story begins on a long, empty Texas road. A van moves through the countryside, carrying a group of young filmmakers who are confident and completely convinced their lives are just getting started. They're heading to a remote farm to shoot a pornographic film. To them, this place is temporary, a simple backdrop, a means to an end. But this farm has a history they can't see yet. The film lingers on the farm like it remembers something, because this is the same farm we saw years earlier in the movie Pearl, and nothing about it has moved on. The land remains the same. The house stands unchanged, and the woman who once dreamed of leaving never truly did, as time moved on around her instead of carrying her with it. This farm isn't neutral ground. It's a place where ambition already failed once. Pearl is old now, fragile and slow, with every movement reminding her that her body no longer responds the way it once did. But something crucial survived. Pearl didn't grow out of her dreams or replace them with peace. She outlived her opportunities, and while time took her youth, it never took her hunger, which is exactly why she's still dangerous. One of the most painful things Pearl experiences in X isn't physical weakness, it's invisibility. People speak around her instead of to her. They assume she's harmless, irrelevant, already finished. She becomes part of the background, something old, something easy to overlook. When the young film crew arrives, they bring laughter, confidence, and movement into Pearl's world. Their presence changes the atmosphere immediately. To them, this is just another stop on the road to something bigger. To Pearl, it's unbearable. Their youth feels threatening to her because she can no longer participate in it. Every laugh reminds Pearl of what she lost, every flirtation of what she never got to keep, and every careless smile proves that life kept going without her. And that's the real danger. Not what they're doing, but how effortlessly they're doing it. Among the group, one person draws Pearl's attention more than anyone else. Her name is Maxine Minks. Maxine moves through life with absolute certainty that she is destined for something greater. She doesn't apologize for her ambition. She doesn't hide her sexuality. She believes being seen is the same as being alive. Why does Maxine affect Pearl differently than everyone else? Because Pearl feels this is the life she could have had. FYI, both Pearl and Maxine are played by Mia Goth, and that choice reveals the film's central idea. Maxine isn't Pearl's opposite. She's Pearl, before time took everything away. Pearl watches Maxine dance and laugh, sees the desire in every look. And in those quiet moments, she isn't angry. She's mourning. At this point in the film, no one has died, but the danger is already present. Because the most frightening thing on this farm isn't a weapon, or a plan, or a killer hiding in the dark. It's a woman who has spent her entire life waiting, and has finally decided she's done waiting. The first act of violence in X doesn't come from panic, chaos, or losing control. It comes from a choice. Once the killing starts, something clicks for Pearl. She's not invisible anymore. People react to her. The world finally responds, and that feeling of control replaces the helplessness she's been living with. Pearl's violence gives her something time never did. It gives her agency. For the first time in years, Pearl isn't waiting for life to happen to her. She's making something happen herself, even if that something is horrific. This is why Pearl is so unsettling. She's not confused. She's not out of control. She knows exactly what she's doing. Violence makes her feel powerful because it makes her visible again. And what about Howard? Can we talk about him? Howard's presence in X is often misunderstood. He isn't the mastermind. He isn't driving the violence. He represents acceptance. He is settled into age, limitation, and obscurity. Pearl hasn't. Howard follows because Pearl still burns with desire, and he doesn't. As the violence escalates, the film quietly begins to shift its attention because something unexpected is happening to Maxine. We see that Maxine does not process fear the same way. She doesn't freeze or fall apart. She adapts. Where others react emotionally, Maxine reacts strategically. Maxine isn't surviving despite the violence. She's surviving because she can live with it. When Maxine is forced into violence, the film presents a critical moment. This is where most horror protagonists fracture. Maxine doesn't dwell on what she's done. She doesn't romanticize it, and she doesn't apologize for it either. She treats violence the same way she treats everything else in her life, as something necessary to get where she wants to go. Once it's done, she moves on. The violence doesn't traumatize Maxine. If anything, it confirms what she already believes about herself, that she will do whatever it takes. At first, Pearl's fixation on Maxine looks like jealousy, but eventually, that feeling shifts into recognition. Pearl doesn't see Maxine as competition. She sees a reflection of who she used to be: ambitious, certain, and unwilling to accept limits. That's why Pearl doesn't want Maxine dead out of hatred. She wants her dead because Maxine proves something Pearl can't live with, that her life didn't have to end this way. Pearl is trapped in the past, constantly reliving what she lost. Maxine is pointed entirely toward the future. Their conflict isn't about morality, it's about momentum. Pearl dies still wanting, still reaching, still convinced that something was taken from her. Maxine survived because she refused to stop. And here's the plot twist. She didn't escape the cycle that destroyed Pearl. She inherited it. Pearl's story ends here, but the desire that defined her changes hands, and the danger walked off the farm with Maxine. She interprets the whole experience as proof that she was right to believe she was different, proof that she could do what others couldn't, proof that fear, morality, and violence weren't strong enough to stop her. She doesn't escape with a warning. She escapes with validation. Pearl was born into a world that punished women for wanting too much. Decades later, Maxine lives in a world that allows ambition, as long as you're willing to pay the price. So Pearl isn't a failure of character. She's just a product of her time. So what was the point of placing Pearl and Maxine in the same film timeline at all, let alone having them both played by Mia Goth? We think it's because this second film in the trilogy exists to let us compare them directly. Pearl represents desire at its beginning, in a period where it is hampered by the time she lived in, while X shows desire after decades of frustration. And, spoiler alert, Maxine will show desire when it finally gets what it wants. X is the mirror. Pearl looks into it and sees what she lost. Maxine looks into it and sees what she refuses to lose. And that's the real horror of X. Not that people died on that farm, but that nothing ever stopped the desire that caused it all. Until the next time, guys, we hope you enjoyed this ride, and we hope you'll like and subscribe to our channel.